what's up folks? Really quick, just before we get into the video, this is a really exciting video today, so you're definitely not going to want to miss it. But I do have my LEGO Ideas Jack and Daxter submission. Please do check out the links down in the description below. The campaign has been going amazing so far. We have over 500 supporters thus far. We do need to get to 10,000, so obviously a long road ahead, but the support you guys are giving so far is amazing. So if you would like to see this become a real LEGO set, please do check out the link down in the description. Lend your support. It only takes a moment and it's free, and it's something that you can do to help support me here on 2Bricks as a creator, as an artist, as a YouTuber, and as somebody who wants to see an official LEGO set with my name on it. So thank you so much again, and on with the video. What's up folks, it's 2Bricks, and this is a very exciting day because once again we are at the beginning stages of a brand new build project, and it's one that I'm very excited about. This is obviously, if you've seen the Ahsoka show, you know this is going to be Ahsoka's T-6 Jedi Shuttle as seen in the Ahsoka TV series for Disney+. Specifically, this is the one that is, heavily modified and has the back bubble turret and the different amount of engines and pretty much the whole different configuration other than the overall silhouette to the one that we saw in the Clone Wars show. So yeah, this one is absolutely jam-packed with details and cool features and stuff like that. So this one is going to be a very interesting series in terms of some major engineering challenges that I'm currently grappling with, and some other kind of fun things that I'm just sort of considering how I'm going to represent. And I'm just kind of really excited to kick that off and show you guys, what I've been up to. So this is going to be the multiple video series, probably 4 or 5 videos tracking the progress of my building this insane giant model. Part of the challenge for this is just how large the model is, but also how the entire wing, the half moon shaped wing, will swivel 360. And that part isn't as challenging as you might think, but the main part for me that is challenging is how to actually hold the thing when it's done, and how to play with it, and how to mount it, create a stand that can hold it in a interesting position. That's going to be one of the things that we kind of figure out as we get through this series. So I have a really cool start underway here that I'm really excited to show you guys today. Lots of good progress has been made so far. So without further ado, let's dive in and see what I've done thus far on this model. All right, so you can kind of see here, this is a fairly large, fairly complete looking chunk of the front of the ship. And you can see back here my trusty blueprints. Whenever I get the blueprints out, stuff is about to get crazy. And I actually, funnily enough, I took a little bit of a risk on this. I started by making pretty much the whole cockpit before I had printed out any blueprints, because I just had a hunch, I had a feeling of how big I thought Ahsoka's shuttle was in minifigure scale, and I could kind of see it in my head. And I could see using this cone piece. This is actually from the Solo Millennium Falcon, so it has the white printing, even though the print quality is kind of lacking, so it almost looks gray anyway. But yeah, this is the white cockpit piece, and I just had this vision of placing this and then having the extended windows going back here to really capture that full, cockpit look back here with the extra windows. And so I just wanted to see if that would work out or not, and then see, secondly, if I could actually place 4 minifigures in the cockpit, which is, essential if it's going to be minifigure scale. And luckily, you can. So you just pop that off really easy. So it just has the little section of window that goes with it. And then you can see in here we have room for 4 figures, and we also have some nice cockpit detailing in here as well. We have the little hyperdrive / steering yokes. I'm not exactly fully sure what those do, but they are present there in the show. In fact, there's multiple of them. So there's like 2 levers for each side. And then yeah, so I just wanted to check this first, and then if this felt right to me, then figure out the rest of the build. And then I went and looked up the official size stats for the ship, scaled it to minifigure studs according to a scale converter that allows you to calculate minifig scale based off of real world measurements. Then found this image on ArtStation. I'll credit the artist below. They did a really nice job with this. And then printed this out to that scale, and luckily it matched exactly to the stud, perfectly to what I had already created. So that kind of all worked out very nicely, and I could breathe a big sigh of relief after that. I'll just place this back on, and I'll just show you here. So the actual cockpit here fits, I don't know if you could see from above, but it fits exactly to the kind of millimeter, the correct size there. So Perfect, so we're on the right track scale-wise, so that's really good. And then the second big thing I had to figure out here is what I'm gonna do with these swiveling wings. So those of you guys who've followed me for a while might be familiar with my Stinger Mantis design. So essentially what I did is I took exactly that mechanism and I did it again. So this is going to be relying on the kind of ring and inner ring system, and I'm going to take this apart in a second to show that to you guys. But it's exactly the same with a Technic core running through the central ring that goes connecting the front and back sections of the ship, and then around that sits this swiveling ring here. So this is obviously just beginning to flesh out the bare bones of what I'm going to do for the rest of the ship going back. But yeah, I'm very, very happy with this whole front section and the cockpit and the way that it swivels. It feels just right. So yeah, I couldn't be happier with that. So before we take all this apart and give you a look at that, let me just show you what the cockpit looks like with the figures in. So you can see right here, the characters have the nice red seat backs like they do in the actual show. And then we have a couple of jumper studs. So there's just one for the figure in the back, so Hu Yang can sit back there quite comfortably, and then two for the ones in the front. And then you simply place the characters down on those jumper studs, and they have, there you go, and they have enough room to sit with their hands and side by side, and then have their arms down as well if they want to, or obviously they could be reaching up for the control sticks there. And then these little sections in the back fold down, and you just have to make sure you leave just enough room there. And then you just pop the cockpit over the top there, stud it in at the back. Make sure that these are nice and flat there, and that creates that really nice flush surface. I really love these new sort of triangular double-sided cut pieces there. Those are very, very useful. And then obviously you can see here, they're all in. Hu Yang fits very comfortably there into the back window with his little ear tips kind of just touching. But with Hu Yang, I do have to leave off his little backpack neck bracket piece because that makes him just slightly too tall in order to fit in the back here. But you know, you don't really need it. And yeah, as long as Ahsoka and Sabine are leaned forward just a little bit, they have enough room here for the back lip of the cockpit piece to go around their heads. And then, like I said, just stud it in right there, and it all fits perfectly. So it was really important to me to get these bottom windows in here in some fashion. And even though these sloped pieces in the transclear are sort of cloudy, you can still see light through them. So if you were to light up the inside of this, you could see through there really nicely. And then I do have a representation here of what I believe to be windows in the back as well, but they're sort of a darker color. And I think they can just basically, you could sort of see out if you were to look underneath the seat, kind of next to where you're sitting, you could take a peek out of the outside there, or they could be some sort of vent or other recessed detail, but it's really, really hard to tell from the show and kind of the shots that we get of the ship. It's really hard to see exactly what that is, so I'm going to reserve judgment for now, but I'm going to keep it as a window for the time being because I really like the open, airy feel that that gives. But yeah, there is the cockpit. It's predominantly built upside down so that I can use these pieces here on the bottom to create that nice smoothed off look, and also these are hollow, so that gives me enough room to transfer the stud direction upside down so that I can then build a floor and have the seats under here, just enough room for these guys to sit comfortably. So it all works out very nicely. I have a representation back there for the door. Obviously the way that this structure is, there's no way to create a hollow passage that goes through to the back of the ship, so you just have to imagine that bit. But I believe that this whole cockpit section is meant to be sealed off anyway to use as an escape pod in emergencies, so it does have the sealed off door back there, and I do believe that this whole front section could just launch off as its own thing, even though I'm not sure that we've seen that in canon, but yeah, that's just my assumption. But yeah, this all works out very nicely, and you know, creating this design up here with the half white on the bottom and then the clear up at the front works out really well, other than the fact that there are studs on this, you know, on this piece, but that really can't be helped. That's just part of the design of the piece, but I really don't mind it, especially when you look at it front on. It looks nice and clear and you can see through it, and it's a-okay. So really, really happy with how everyone looks sitting in there. They look like they're ready to go on an adventure to a different galaxy. All right, so you can see here the same exact ring technique that I used on the Stinger Mantis here. We're using these half round pieces with the square cutout in the middle that allows you to run a Technic beam right the way through the middle. And then on the other side here, you can see I'm switching directions. So I'm using the Technic pins to plug in these, what would be considered upside down to, you know, to this, and then continue off in a stud upward facing direction for the rest of the ship. And then the whole wing sliding portion obviously sits right in this channel here, and will be buffeted on this side by a lot more structural elements that kind of hold this in place and hopefully keep this steady during the very, very stressful process of moving these giant wings up and down, or rotating these around. And you can see here, once again, I'm using these rounded elements on the middle here, then sort of creating a structure around that with regular bricks, and then plates to finish off, give it that nice rounded look on the outside here. And you know, there is the technique. It works really, really effectively, at least for the Stinger Mantis, and hopefully it'll continue to work here. So you can see here I'm just starting to flesh out the design for the wing. So the wing is going to be massive. This is such a small portion of the overall bulk of it, but it's the thickest here in the middle, and then it gets thinner as it goes out to the edges. So at least, you know, hopefully there'll be less volume on the outside there. But for the inside here, I'm just keeping this as hollow as humanly possible. I'm using brackets on the inside to attach these top and bottom sides, and then just the minimum amount of plates that I can get away with to have the design that I need for the exterior here. So I definitely want to make sure that I'm capturing all the little details. Like, this is very accurate shaping here to what we see, the little channel that runs along here, and then the wing will continue off this way. So, you know, I'm trying to really, really go crazy on the details on the exterior of this, because it's one of those things where you want to see the nice solid color blocking from a distance, and then when you get up close you want to have a lot of interesting things to look at. And I made these 3 dots here that are present in the design white, but I think I'm going to switch those for like a gray, or maybe even a dark gray, because they do show up darker in the actual show. But yeah, and then, you know, I have a little channel that runs down here that I'm going to fill with little brick built details as best as I can, to sort of give it that channel, that Millennium Falcon channel of strip of detail look that all Star Wars ships have in between the gaps of their different panels. And then, yeah, just kind of mirror this design side to side and top and bottom. And then we'll figure out a way to secure it later on so that you can have it either in the upwards or the downwards configuration. So, but yes, this should be able to spin freely, and I'm not too concerned about, like with the Stinger Mantis, it has one wing that faces up and one wing that faces sideways. This is 2 balanced wings on either side, so as long as the builds are equal, this should be, you know, perfectly balanced, so you don't have to worry too much about it tipping. You're just going to be able to set it at whatever angle you want, and it should just stay. So yeah, that's at least something. And then, yeah, this, you know, kind of having been through this once already with the Mantis really helped me to not tear my hair out too much figuring out a design for this. The only thing is, obviously, it's attached with very minimal. We have a 2 brick thick connection here, and this whole structure is going to be stressed and pushed to its limits to support the weight of all these wings. So we're just going to see if that works out, but I think it should hold. So we'll see. But yeah, so that's that. And next up we have this bubble turret, which sits towards the back of the ship. This was a really interesting one to figure out what I was going to do with it, because it needs to accommodate a Sabine at the very least. And in the show, the actual space to get into here is so tiny that the seat back itself has to fold down into the floor and then only come up once she's actually in place. So it is an insanely cramped little area in the actual show itself. So even with that, I had to scale this up ever so slightly to be able to accommodate a figure at all. Luckily though, these pieces came with, I believe, the Last Jedi bomber sets, and they have a really perfect print to represent the sides of this. And these were actually for a gunner bubble turret as well. So the purpose already fits, and you can just see here that it just kind of very neatly clamps together on the sides and has room for Sabine to fit in there, and it's really easy to get her in and out. And so I'm just using the sort of bracket piece down in here, the sort of Z-shaped piece, to have the ability for a figure to sit. And then it opens up really, really nice and clean on all sides there, so you can really get access to your figure, and she just studs in and even has a couple of handles to fire with. So yeah, this all works out really nicely, and other than it being slightly out of scale, I think it should be fine. And I'm just counting on the fact that once it's all in place, and the ship is so massive that this being sort of 2 studs taller and wider overall than it should be is going to be something that you don't even really notice, right, amongst all of the other bulk of the ship. And plus the sort of cowling that goes around the exterior of this, that sort of hugs around it, will help to sort of cover over some of that if I need to. So I definitely think I can make this work. And overall, I really, really like this design because it just captures what it needs to perfectly, and it also functions really well. So yeah, there's Sabine targeting some space pirates. And like any of my 2Bricks ship designs, I'm going to be putting as much of an interior in this as is physically possible. Pretty much all of the spaces that we've seen on the show will be represented here in some capacity. So I'm going to have some representation for the bunks that we see, the dojo, or at least I'm planning to, and then the ladders that go up and down to connect you to the airlocks that go to the outside of the ship, and we're going to have a boarding ramp as well. But of course, by far and away the most recognizable space here is the dojo. So after a long day of training in this dojo space with this beautiful flat floor that you see here, they're going to want to relax a little bit and have some tea and just have a chat. So what do? We turn the knob down here and we make the table and chairs appear. That's right, I managed to put a little mechanism in here to raise and lower the table and chairs. And it's really, really simply done. So essentially I have two, I'm going to show you this. I have two Technic lift arms that are connected at opposing angles here on this Technic axle that runs right the way through here. I'm just putting all of this on here so I could actually sit it flat to demonstrate this to you. So all of this will be stripped away when it's actually, you know, in place in the ship. Obviously I don't have room for all this bulk, but the mechanism itself will stay. And then so yeah, I have two lift arms that travel different distances. Sorry, I lost Sabine there. There you go. Two lift arms that travel different distances but arrive at the same height. So we have the one back here and then the one in here. So it ends up pushing both table and chairs to the same height underneath to keep them level, and then when they come down they're allowed to travel different distances so that the seats don't have to go as far to be level with the floor, the table has to go further. So having that little bit of differential, not only does it create obviously the ability for two different height items to descend into the same floor space, but it comes with the added benefit of the chairs coming up first and slower overall, and then the table just sort of popping up at the end, which I think just looks so cool. I've been doing this, honestly, I think I would have had a lot more progress made if I hadn't just been doing this all day for the last couple of days. So yeah, super, super happy with how that turned out. And then, you know, once it's up, it sort of naturally locks into place, so you can just take Sabine and Ahsoka and place them here on the seats, and then Sabine can be trying to use the Force to summon the cup, like so. And failing at that, so you win this round cup. All right, and there you have it, folks. There is the progress so far. Kind of a modest start for just how much distance I still have to go with this mock, but I'm very, very happy that a couple of the immediate challenges that I was worried about, like the bubble turret and the dojo floor, have been tackled early so that I know exactly how I'm doing those things. And also the cockpit was a little bit of a worry as well, with fitting all those figures in there and having it be nice and smooth and round like how you'd want it to be. So to figure out how I'm going to balance out all of the weight that is just going to be supported by this section of the build here, this very narrow neck bracket, and then also obviously finish the rest of the ship. That's no small feat either. So yeah, lots of work ahead, and I'm really, really excited in the coming weeks to be showing you guys all the updates. I have parts orders on the way. I'm trying to use, like I usually do, mostly what's, you know, from my main collection, and I'm also trying to integrate parts from the official sets as much as possible. It's a little harder because I'm not using the gray color scheme that they used in the official set, so there will be more of a sparse smattering of those gray elements, but they definitely are still there. But the predominant accent color is going to be white on this one, because I just think it looks nicer and it aligns closer to the actual shooting model, I think, than the gray does. And then yeah, we're just gonna have to figure out how to actually get all of the practicalities in order so you can play with and display this thing like you normally would with a 2Bricks mock. So that's kind of the fun of that. So yeah, really, really excited to be back in the designer's chair again, figuring things out. I mean, it's so much fun. It's like, to me, it's the best part of the whole process. Sitting down to make the instructions is the worst part, but the actual design part is such a joy. So yeah, really, really excited. Thank you guys for watching. I'm hoping that you guys are going to stick along with me through this journey, because it's going to be pretty epic, and we're going to have a pretty cool model at the end, I think. So thanks so much for watching, you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video, and may the Force be with you.